This meeting to order. Join us in the pledge. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for all coming tonight. We can get some resolutions where we're at. So the purpose of bringing everyone together is obviously you've all read the River East, seen the comments on Facebook, saw Channel 61 Fox News report about the forward condition of the ambulance association. Condition which, as far as the message that got sent out to the public, is a lot of the people are now afraid they're not going to get a ride. If they dial 911, somebody's not going to come. It is a true fear. And these people, this was instilled upon by members of your organization, telling us how bad things were and how they could no longer function. Now we get a letter from your chairperson, Barbara Moore, saying, everything's fine. We have a problem, we need to fix it, and now hopefully we can come to some resolution tonight. There's a lot of things that need to be repaired. And we're as a council, we want to see how it's going to be done. Anyone, my members, have some comments?
Well, I have quite a few comments, but I'll keep it as short as I possibly can. So goes back probably, I'm gonna give or take 4 weeks. I am at Ace Hardware, which I'm at Ace Hardware twice a week. And an older gentleman grabs me and drags me down where the nails and screws are and said he's very concerned about what's going on. You know, he's read the River East. His granddaughter's got him on pins and needles. He described that he likes to work out in his garden, bottom line, and he's very upset. He says, you know, I don't know if God forbid if something happens, is somebody gonna be able to get to me? So he's worried about it. I didn't know this gentleman. He actually somehow knew my name and, you know, wanted to know if it was something, you know, because of what was said about the town council not giving money, what we can do about this. And I said, well, we will work together and do our best to do this. I guess why I'm pointing this out is it kind of dovetails what Mark was just saying. There's a lot of people in town that are very upset, extremely upset, that what was said on Channel 61 and everything else. And I got to be honest, most of you know me. I've been a manager. I worked for General Motors for many years, and I was a manager for many, many years. I think it was handled piss poor and unprofessional. I think that if I had a problem, I would go to the powers that be, sit down, and see what we can work out. Instead of going to Channel 61, the River East, and Facebook, I would have handled it in a much more professional way. I think it was handled horrible. Now, that being said, after upsetting the people in this town and about response time, the proper service that the town needs, and also, in lack of better words, bad-mouthing this town council, how do we go about repairing that? Because you guys did a heck of a job going the other way. How do we repair what the damage has been done? And I also want to know, when we start speaking about this, is this, as I call, the Band-Aid fix? In 3 more years, I probably won't be sitting back there. Maybe some of us won't, some of us will. Are we going to come back to the town council? Because we needed $600,000 a few weeks ago. And that was only going to last 2 to 3 years. And that was in the River East. What changed in this short time that we don't need $600,000 to keep going? So I would like to know that answer. And I understand the crystal ball broke years ago. We all didn't know COVID was going to hit and it was going to upset the entire country. So I know we can only look so far ahead, but I'd like to know what the future of this is. And I also would like to know, and I think I can ask this question. If I can't, I apologize. I'd like to know where the financial stats are of the East Hampton Ambulance Association as it stands today. I would like to know that answer. I'd like to know what's going on. And I don't know if we can do this, but I will ask Mark and I'll ask Mr. Cox about it. And if this does go through and we get back together here, how about quarterly reports to the town council? Financial stats, where it sits, where's money being spent, how much is taken in? So that's what I have.
One correction there. Chief came before us, actually, when Mr. Brown was chair, over a year ago, saying that they were in dire straits. Now, this is 1 year ago. They were in dire straits. If we didn't come up with 300, 600,000, I forgot the number, Pete, at the time, I think it was around 600. And that would only last for 2 years. I need to know where the 600,000 to make, they'll allow the ambulance association to be able to continue to 2 years. What happened to that number? And how could you possibly survive if you don't get it? Because for over a year now, that's what this council is being told. If you don't have, they don't get, if your group doesn't get $300,000, they can no longer function. We've been told that we're starting a year ago. So how could you possibly survive if we don't give you the money, according to your members? How is this possible?
Most of those things, because you're looking at me, both of you, but
You're the chairman.
You're
I
chair.
but most of those things, I didn't know about. How many calls have we missed and no one to respond? I think we've covered our calls. I can't answer it personally. I'm not there to do that. That's not what we do. So someone from the, our core would have to respond to that, but I don't know that we've missed calls. It's a natural thing with any ambulance group, anyone in the whole state. They're busy and they may miss everyone. That's not an unusual thing. It might have happened, but there is backup. There is backup plans. And as far as the money, we could use some more money, but that number we've gone through a lot of papers to see. And if we could get help with, tells the what we do bring in and the cash on hand. So you give us in your budget every year. I think it's, not sure, maybe Dave knows.
I was gonna say
$64,000. Oh, okay.
65,000.
So if that could be, we have it worked out, if that could be 100,000, so a little more, that we could survive for about 4 to 5, 6 years that way without any more assistance financially.
See, the minute I hear that, Barb, then what we need to be working to right now is having Middlesex take over, because that's a zero charge per year with a guaranteed 24/7 coverage.
I don't
So
know.
why
about the
would you
charge.
not, why would you not want to head in that direction? If you need money, because I tell you, I've talked to other towns who've gone down the road of letting private organizations run it, and the money starts here and ends up here.
Mhm.
And Durham was a perfect example. They had a core. They put 2 on, 4 on, 7 on. It was over $1 million a year. They get a whole Middlesex, no problem. Building will take care of it. 6-year, 0 contract, $0 with not having to worry about volunteers, all paid staff. The reason being, and you're dealing with a company, this is their business. It would be like me trying to start a cooking company tomorrow. I'd go flat on my face. I would not make it. Or you start an HVAC company. If you're starting something out of your realm, and this ambulance association, I've heard multiple stories about going out, not taking anyone in. And when you go out on a call and don't transfer anyone, you don't bill the insurance company. That was a wasted call, wasted personnel. And I've heard that happens a lot. So I think we really need to start down that path to how do we get Middlesex in the building and let them take things over. And that way there's no more stress on the members, no more long-term worries. And our fear, sitting here as the council, worried about is, right now that deal is on the table. The more towns that start to take that, maybe that deal goes away. So, and maybe it won't. Maybe they're just gonna keep expanding. It's good, it's business for them. They know how to run it. They can make a profit. So this, as far as I'm concerned, this is the direction we need to head. I'd love to work with you and see how we can do this. You can spend your money amongst your members to pay who you've got to pay till the merger is complete. That'd be the best way going forward, because just listening to all the comments and even hearing you now, well, we got to start with some money.
Well, we are in a budget every year anyway. So that's, we're not asking for a huge amount, so as compared in the great scheme of things, but I'm sure our other members would like to have any more.
All I know is, from what I'm told, as far as your Middlesex, all that sounds good up front, and then when you need any kind of fine tuning on the, the ball games, the whole home day, all that stuff goes away, the freebie. I know you donate to it now, but you'll do more than donate to it when they take over. And then I understand now, I have nothing in writing in front of me, but when this happens, you end up with the cost of the ambulance to the public is a lot more. All these rides we talk about for free, they're not free. We're only allowed to collect so much. And if you're on, what's the Medicare, they don't cover a lot of it either. So, it's hard to regain that, where if you have a paid full-time, they're allowed to collect more. That's what I've been told.
Dave, I think that's wrong because Medicaid pays everyone the same amount, period. It's the private
Medicare.
rides, Medicare.
Okay.
That's a fixed fee. Even the guys in Middlesex tell me, it's a fixed fee. That's all they're gonna get. Same like going to the doctor if you're on Medicare.
Yeah.
Doctors only get X amount. That's why a lot of them don't take it.
Well, that's my point. I know that the members, maybe more of them decided that they'd like to try to save this thing. More so than just say, we're gonna fold up. That's what I kind of get since this. I didn't actually read this stuff in Facebook and all that myself, so I can't really comment that way, but it sounds to me like they've changed their mind a little bit, try to do the best they can to get things back on its feet as far as maybe some of the volunteers and so on and so forth. So I don't, having
We
said
did have
that,
some
that's-
great meetings with our volunteers.
so,
You're right, they were very positive and want to continue. It's part of their life, for sure. It has to be part of your life if you're willing to get up at any time of the day or night and help. And to have people that our neighbors and our friends that are there for you. I remember to have that person that when you're calling the ambulance and you don't know who's coming and the person comes, I've been there. It's a wonderful thing. It's just, aside from all the money and all of that, but it really, really is a great thing.
one other thing that I would throw in there is today's life, there's two people working to survive. Okay. So the ones that don't have part-time jobs on that are volunteering. We don't have the people in town like we used to have back in the 60s and 70s. But the ones that are still doing it are saying, maybe we could get a little bit of help with the funds for the time they're going to spend. So that was where it started, I think, and now. I don't know.
I think there's a tremendous, my name is Heidi Joseph, and I'm a member of the board. I think there's a tremendous amount of pride with the association, and as there is in many all first responders, and they feel a very strong commitment to the town and to the services that we provide, not only for the emergency transport of the community, but also to provide support to Old Home Day and baseball games and parades and things like that, which, as we mentioned, would go away from the community effort of the association. So that feel is gone, and we all feel like it's important to maintain that within this community. It's a tight-knit community, and many of these volunteers have been here for a very long time, and they have committed decades to their service, and they would like to continue to do that. The association is in a good position to be able to support some of this programming, but there will be a shortfall at some point. And the general feeling is going to a Middlesex or other commercial service takes all of that away, takes away that personal aspect of it. Many of the patients are very comforted by the people that they know that are coming in their house when they do call the 911 service. And that, I think, speaks volumes to the professionalism and the care they provide as association members. And yes, it would be, I think, advantageous for us to be able to have that conversation to see how we can support maintaining the volunteer association within the town, and whether that, involves increased billing aspects or, other components of budget, review and cuts where we can. I think that there's some other aspects to that we can look at and to be able to come to some kind of workable solution. But I think that the pride of the community needs to be considered, and the support that this association has provided for many, many years is on the table for discussion. And I think, if we have members here in the community with us on the television, with the virtual, it would be helpful if they were to share their thoughts and their feelings, as they did with us the other night when we met with them as well.
Like I say, I understand the emotional part of this and the history of this and everything else like that, and knowing that your neighbor is the one coming, and I hear that. But I mean, I've only been on the council for a couple months. The first letter here got sent out April 13th of last year. And it now seems like the second there was another option, and as it's quoted in the newspaper, that it's the town's job to provide an ambulance service, right? So we start looking at other options, saying, okay, $600,000 for 2 years, or we can get more of a guaranteed response, because there's plenty of quotes saying that you're gonna wait 30 minutes to an hour, you'd be lucky if we show up. And now it's turning into, okay, we just need a little bit more of stipend money, or we just want to be there for Old Home Day. That's not what was brought up. Now that it feels like it was blindsided for the past year. The town's been scared unnecessarily. And at this point, if it's saying that, no, actually we're good and there's not a response problem and this and that, then it sounds like there's a management problem. You're saying that you don't know about any missed calls or anything like that. You didn't know about some of the comments that were being made in the newspaper and Fox 61 and this and that. And I understand you don't need to see everything, but this has been out there for a year and enough to scare people that it's even more sketchy that now, if it's okay, everything's good, that needed to be put out to the public instantly. Not here now saying, no, actually, we just need a little bit more for Old Home Day. Not scare the public, we're here with an option. Actually, never mind, we're good. Because that's what it feels like.
I don't think we can say that about the missed calls. I don't care where you're gonna get your service from, but it's gonna happen, not missed calls, but delays. It's a people run thing. You can't help it. And these our volunteers, like we keep stressing it, maybe you should listen to some of them and talk. It's not fair that they can't.
We did. We had your chief
Many times.
many times.
and many-
He's
I
spending time
understand
after
that.
time.
I don't think the
Talk
team
about
does it.
professionalism, he shows absolutely zero.
With light
Zero
threats
professionalism,
saying
and
you
he is the
better not-
leader of this group.
He does lack in those situations, but
Then why wasn't a message brought out saying, we apologize, this is the actual situation, because this has been going on for a year now.
I didn't think we had a problem for a whole year, but okay.
I don't
April
think that- I
April
think-
13th,
That's
Chief Scranton's letter came out.
I think it would
I know.
be more
I can't-
effective if we discuss what we can, I can't speak for anybody who may have said anything to Channel 61, or any of us can do that. If any of us did that conversation, it wasn't, something we could speak about. So, to argue about that and want an answer to the reason why someone said negative things, we can't speak to that. That may be a conversation you have directly with those folks who did that. It's unfortunate that it occurred. If it were negative information that isn't what's really what we're trying to figure out here. So I will collectively apologize for whatever statements were made. But I can't say that I know what they are either. I haven't read it. But I can say that having worked commercial EMS, I can tell you that delays happen 110%. It happens. And there is a time frame of the call. Get to the next call, get to the next call. So if your mother's ready, great. If she's not, that delay is going to be a problem. And they're going to push. and they're gonna push because they need to go and they need to get out of the hospital for the next person. And they've got a long way to travel. If this isn't the only town they're covering, it's gonna be even worse. And there'll be delays and you'll have, we don't know who will come in next. So those are things that are real and true. And that data is out there to find. That's not hard to find that information at all. I think that, we're not sitting here saying, oh, if we go to, Middlesex, that we're not gonna do the whole old home day. That's really far from the truth. That's not the case. They really do want to provide the service to the town. And yes, every volunteer association, whether it's a fire or not, or EMS or whatever, they're struggling with volunteers. So offering an incentive, just like it is for, we get people who are on unemployment had $600 more a week for their incentive to, be able to manage. I think that is a valid consideration. That's an incentive towards their service to motivate people to come in and volunteer. This is a part-time job. We expect 24 hours, a week. And so that's a lot of time when someone is juggling 2 or 3 jobs to be able to volunteer without an incentive to their time. And so offering that incentive, I think, is going to be helpful to, and the association feels helpful to be able to garner some additional people to come into the association and do those services. As I said, the financial, we can certainly share that. I think we've discussed that. And that will show what is our status, and at some point it won't be the same. And some of the things we've discussed is extending the time frame on the ambulances that we have to save money, to cut back on some of the other expenses that we do have taken forward. So those are things we can look at, and as a private association, we can do that. And when they are faced with that reality of, well, then we should probably, make an executive decision to bring in another commercial service, then yeah, people get motivated because this is their blood. This is what's in their blood. This is what they strive to do. And I'm thankful that they do, for the support of all of our families, honestly, in this town, because it is a rare breed. It's going away. We're all thankful for the fire department to come in as volunteers and cover our homes and our fires. So it's the same. The pride does go a long way, but again, this is a business, and we do have to look at that component of it. There needs to be some adjustments made, and potentially some additional funds from the town to be able to continue to support some of the services that we provide.
I agree that you can never guarantee a call, right? I'm just going off of the thing saying you'd be lucky to get a call, is what was said, right? Without going to mutual aid. So that aside, nothing's going to be perfect on that. But if we think that there's something that we can do that's better than what we currently have, especially with over the past year, what's been presented to us, and on top of that, it now kind of looks sketchy in a way that it started out with, we need $600,000 for 2 years to actually, we're okay.
I don't
How do you
remember
answer
sitting
that?
here and asking for that.
I mean, this is from the East Hampton Ambulance Association, stamped right here,
Yeah.
saying
And who signed that?
we're asking for $600,000 and or to provide these services mentioned from the ARP. It would be a 2-year budget cycle of $300,000 a year. Signed, Chief Donald Scranton. Then why did it take a year to get this out? This has gone to the newspaper with you in this newspaper with your comments. Why wasn't there a comment saying, we have not talked? We don't actually need these $600,000. The town got scared unnecessarily is what I'm hearing.
So when we made that first plea, the recovery fund was available. And so we wanted to put in our bid for that. And so, you shoot for the stars, you hope that you can get some portion of that. We were able to justify various things in what our request was. So I think, yes, it started a long time ago, and here we are at this point now. And as I said, we can make some adjustments to be able to make this functional for a period of time. We do have a 98% response rate in the town without going to mutual aid. So I think that speaks a lot to the ability to cover the town.
That
However,
does.
it's dwindling. These people are putting in more than 24 hours, they're putting in a lot of time. And thankfully, we have some folks who are able to do that with their own finances and schedules, and allows them to be able to put in that time. But, and things like happens in the summers when the students come back from school is also a helpful component to our livelihood. they're gone at this period so that we can't count on them to do those calls.
All I hear is we have great EMTs and we are actually doing good, but the management is what's scaring me. And now I think it would be worthwhile to look at the other options that are here now that we're here. Because who knows, 5 years from now, 6 years from now, we're back into, we need money, we need help, everything else like that. And if there is a way we could get a 6-year contract with a more guaranteed response time and,
What would,
you know, for
what do you
zero
think that
cost.
would be? If we're 98%, what would your response time be? If you're not happy with that, what are you asking for, 100%?
I guess I'm kind of asking for honesty here because 98 response time, that's great. But now it just seems very unsettling, at least in my eyes, about the money part of this now.
We're not
Believe
asking
everything
you for a
you hear
lot
in
of
the
money.
newspaper. It's, so
We're
I
not
think it's,
But
we
how
can
did we
appreciate
upset the
that.
whole town saying that we're not gonna be able to, we're not capable of taking care of the town? You're telling me it's 98%. That's amazing, guys. I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm gonna give everybody a hand shake on that, because that's truly
Yes,
amazing.
it is.
I got nothing but good things to say about that. Then why did we put the spin on it and all this social media and everything else that we're not gonna, when my mother falls down, we're not gonna get there?
But not
Who was in
even
charge
social-
of that?
I can't answer that.
Okay,
You
who
were
was
at
in,
the
who
meeting.
did that?
Social media, I have no.
Somebody wrote that.
But March 8th, when you gave us this letter, there was a
That's our
lot of
problem.
members of the ambulance association that spoke, and you spoke also in front of us. Why wasn't there any correction March 8th saying, actually, we need to look at this, we need to talk to you, the numbers aren't exactly correct, like, this is 11 months later, but you know, it could have been, we're doing great response, and it's not as bad, but we are gonna have to look at a little bit more help, a little bit more of an incentive is a lot different than we need to hire people, which it also looks weird is we never got an official proposal to begin with. So even if we wanted to give out money, we couldn't have. And then on top of that, there's a lot of questions of part of the town, but you're not part of the town. Can money even go to employees that are not part of town? There's a lot of areas that weren't looked at. What happened with tax purposes, this and that. There's a lot of questions. Yeah. Why wasn't that corrected at all when they were talking right in front of you about the same concerns that I had?
So that right now, I don't know, it's
And
just, it's pretty upsetting that, and I think people in the back of the room are probably wanting to say something. I don't know if you'll allow them, but there are a lot of people there that do go on these calls and.
Barbara, it's not about the calls, never been about the
Okay,
calls.
all right.
I've never ever once, any council member once said the job they're doing was insufficient. Not one time. We did not criticize that. They, however, on the other hand, were the ones telling us they could no longer do it. They could no longer put the hours in without getting paid.
So now
That's a paid department. You guys want to go paid. Well, guess what happens now? You become employees of the town, or they become employees of the town who actually got to go through the hiring process of getting an interview, going through town, because now you're town staff. If we were to go down that alley, we can't give you $600,000 in a budget line for a nonprofit. We cannot do that.
We're not asking.
You'd have to be employed as town employees. And that's, we came up with a solution. We have a solution on front of you. And now all of a sudden, no one wants to hear about it. Your department, you guys created this problem. We have a solution.
You know, I think we need to get to the bottom of all this. Just why we're asked for the money in the first place. And I'm the first one to admit it was perhaps done in not the right manner. But we're here now to try to bring this together. I think the main problem is not money for running the ambulance, the equipment, the ambulances, all that kind of thing. Our problem is a recruitment problem. And we've gotten to the point where it's difficult to get people to volunteer. Volunteerism has gone down the tube recently. You ask any organization. And it's very difficult, particularly with a group like this. They're called the crazy hours. They're asked to do COVID things and that kind of thing. So they want to, be paid. They want to get some money for this. But I think that's our problem. I think we can manage the operation, but we need help in staffing right now and attracting members. It takes a long time to train these people. It takes a lot of money to train these people. And I think we're willing to do that. I also think we're willing to sit down amongst ourselves with you guys if you want, but to make a plan. Are we gonna go through the budget line by line and see if we can't tighten our belts a little bit? If we can maybe use some of our equipment a year or two longer in order to consolidate and get some of this money so that we can incentivize the volunteers or make things better for them.
You're heading down the same path the town of Durham did. Their association started hiring, incentivizing, gave a little more, gave a little more. It was a miserable failure. Why would we want to go down the same rabbit hole when it was proven it doesn't work?
Well, there's a certain feeling among an EMT or EMS people that they do it. They're not asking for top dollar. Really.
I think if I may, we can sit here all night and bash about why this happened, who said that, and why did they say that, and what are we doing? And what was our motivation? But really, let's, as somebody alluded to, let's just look at the options and talk about it. We're not going to be able to come up with a financial review of our budget tonight. We're not going to be able to come up with a proposal for maintaining our own service. We're not going to be able to have this information in front of us that says, here's what Middlesex will cost the town or whatever. So from my perspective, we have the option. We will, create a review of the budget line by line. Where can we show money saved and cut? Develop a proposal to remain solvent and somehow increase incentives or create a more, attract package as an incentive program to attract more volunteers for this membership. And then finally, the last option would be to look at, the option of a commercial service coming in and taking over. And compare those things line by line and see what, is the most appropriate choice. It doesn't make sense to, we all understand the pride. That's not the issue. No one's questioning any motivation for volunteership. Let's just really talk about what the money is. That's what we're here for. It's a business. We will figure out how to make it work or not work and move on. But frankly, that's what I see as what we talk.
I think the members and the board are willing to maybe give us a 2-3 year try. It takes a long time to train these volunteers if we get them. First of all, you have to get them. Then you're good for a year before you can actually get full workload out of them. There's a lot of equipment that each of them should have. I think that I've been involved with other volunteer organizations. And they're all having the same problem. I worked for years in a very affluent community, and even they had a problem. But I think we just can't let this go. You get involved with Middlesex, Durham's involved with Middlesex and whatnot. They do mostly transports. That's where they get their money. They have an accident and you take care of it, but also you're out on transports all day long. They're running those ambulances to transport to the hospital, to the clinic, to wherever,
Scheduled
the nursing
transfers.
homes. And where's your basic emergency medical services? Out doing transports for Middlesex hospitals, collecting the money.
I heard one complaint come out of Durham, and I know the first selectman
Well,
very well, Laura Francis. She doesn't lie. She's been there for 30 years and people love her.
one complaint to me.
She's right there. Can't beat a dead horse. This is where we're at, but I think it's a good idea to keep moving forward. I'm not gonna lean on just because we've been doing it for 70 years, give us a chance, because now it seems like the tables have turned where we're the bad guys for not giving this support. And now we're saying, okay, we're looking forward to try to help the town. No, now we're the bad guys for not giving emotional support.
Well,
And that's, no, I want to move
also-
forward. I want to see the options. I love the budget idea, talking about the breakdown, right?
That's
And
what
any
we
help,
need.
if that's the problem, it's getting people in, then that should have been the main focus, not hanging on by your fingertips due to a lack of
That's-
money.
That's water under the bridge. We're
And-
here to say that we're willing to try.
I look at it as it's a little too late at this point. We need to look at all our
Well,
options.
Then you need to also consider how you could take over this
If you-
organization.
We're not that far, and that's looking at it a bad way. I'm trying to look, and I think we are trying to look at what is best for the town. If you guys are the best option, 98%, that's great. Right? You're not gonna get much
Well, then
better than
let us
that.
Give a
And we'll
chance
start
to
there.
staff it. I mean, you could. give
But
us-
then the management and PR is obviously another problem, and maybe there's a better option 5, 10 years down the road.
Well, maybe we have to do something with our management. Maybe we have to change the administration and that kind of thing. And
We'll
the,
start at looking at our options, and that's what we're trying
I
to get
think
at.
we've looked at a lot of different things.
I'm not gonna rehash what's been said. I came to this meeting, we know, with the understanding that this meeting was to explore our options. We have one option that Mark has found out of Durham. I'm looking, what is your option to continue? Now, I understand the feelings around this table. I have them also. But you have to understand that those personal feelings are one thing. I'm here to ensure that East Hampton has the services, the emergency services that they need. To that end, I can get over the name calling, I can, all of that. What is going to be done to ensure that service continues? Money is the big bear in the room. I get it. David, please explain. We went from point A with this ARP money, and my words, to point Z of what we could use it for from the time we found out about it. And I'm not sure where we're at with those dollars today. The only thing I understood out of it all was we can't create a deficit with those dollars, in that we can't use it for salaries, because when those dollars go away, we have a deficit. Correct me if I'm wrong.
You're a little bit wrong. To be
Just a little.
clear, the town, like any municipality in the country, can, if they choose to, use, in East Hampton's case, all of its allocation for any general government service. Period, end of statement. That could include, because it's considered, I'm gonna use a phrase that makes no sense if you really look at it, lost revenue. It can be used for any purpose that the town provides. It could be used for salaries. However, it is my understanding that there has been general consensus, and there certainly have been statements at ARP meetings, that this body does not want to use ARP funds for what will become ongoing expenses. So one time only, if you will, capital related expenses.
We ask Tom to talk on behalf of the volunteers.
Okay?
Yep.
Initially, we were looking for ARP, and that's, as far as I know, that's all we were looking for. And we weren't saying we need $300,000 a year forever. We're saying this money came here from Washington, and we wanted to get a piece of it. Now, we are running right now just about even. Our costs are gonna go up because the volunteer, we don't have enough volunteers, we have to take people. Okay, fine. So that's what we wanted the money for, so that it would keep us going for several years. Now, whether the money was for people or ambulance or whatever, that's what we thought. That's what we asked for, because that's what we thought was a reasonable number. We didn't ask for all of it. We didn't, we could ask for less, whatever. So that's where the 600,000 came from. And what we recently did was, the other thing is, we have not really, maybe we didn't make a good enough proposal to the town. We have never received any feedback from anybody as to the 300,000. It's just, we can't give it for people. And it's been going on for a year, no feedback. So maybe there was some frustration on the part of some people that they wrote things they shouldn't have written. I run around town, I was talking to the Lions Club twice, I've told the Rotary Club, we're not going out of business, we'll be okay for a while, and we'll have to see how this works out. So we recently had a meeting where we said, you know what, we'll instead of buying an ambulance every 5 years, we'll buy them every 10 years, and hope that it works. So that's a big nut that's gonna come back to us. We're gonna look at our expenses and see where else we can cut. We pay a lot of money for the building. We pay for electric and heat and everything else, air conditioning. We've repaired the garage doors about 10 times. So we spend a lot of money on that as well. And I will tell you that the Durham deal is number one. The town is paying for the building, everything, the heat, the light. Number two, this only works because Durham gave their ambulances to Middlesex. Right now, we own the ambulances. That doesn't mean we couldn't give them to Middlesex, but Middlesex doesn't want to be in a 911 business. They want to take these ambulances. The only reason they took the Durham deal was because they got ambulances out. 3 ambulances, they took 2, 1 is in Durham. So it's not a perfect deal, but that's the way it is. And there's nothing to stop Middlesex 3 years from now saying, you know what, we don't want to do 911 anymore. Or somebody will say, hey, you got a 911 portion and you're losing money on it, even though you're making money over here. And they stop it, and then Durham has nothing. They don't have the ambulances, they don't have the people. So, but I don't want to, that's the worst possible case. They may not even happen. The other thing is, there is what we call PSA, which we have from the state, and that allows us to do 911 calls in East Hampton and Hackensack. That would have to be taken away from us. And the state doesn't take it away easily. In Durham's case, they gave it up to Middlesex. Because and the state's not going to take it away from us if we have 95% coverage of the calls. They haven't taken away East Haddams, and I don't know what they are, they're probably 60%. So everything here is not as clear or clean as it should be. There's a lot of different things here. So all we were ever looking for, first we asked for the money, get no response. Then we asked for, and I think we had a meeting with the past council. We were going to sit down and talk about it. So far, nothing has happened. So we don't know what to do. So we decided we're going to look at our expenses, look at spreading it out, because we're apparently not going to get any money from the town for anything. So that's where we stand. So we're going to try to make it as good as we can. Maybe we'll break even for the next 20 years. I don't know. But if we start going in deficit, then we got to eat into our funds. Lots of things could happen. The state could say you can charge $1,200 for an ambulance call. Right now, it's about $800 plus mileage, and we can't charge more. And if the Medicare patients, they're $300, that's all they pay. We can't ask for the rest of the money. So a lot of things could happen. We could get 100 volunteers come in and say, oh, this is a great idea, let's do this. You just don't know. I don't know what the future holds. So we were really asking for ARP money. If the ARP money is dead, then we'll just move on as best we can. We're not really asking the town to fund this ongoing.
Tom, I got to stop you. That's
Okay.
totally not true, because it was mentioned at multiple meetings.
Right.
What happens when the 600 ARP money will be gone? What happens? And it was told to us that it will then become a $300,000 a year line item in your budget. It's on tape. I'd be happy to play it back. For you.
Okay, I
So
don't
that's what
remember
we've
that.
been told.
I don't remember that.
Oh,
Just as
We're
another
here
thing,
now.
how long are you saying you guys break even can survive? You just said 20 years maybe?
Well, I don't, if we break even, yeah.
Because last month you said you have a year, maybe two left. And that was right from you. And I remember you speaking in front of us, telling us,
Well, I don't remember saying, I probably would have said 4 years,
and right here, it
Well, I
says a
don't-
year or two left.
but it's probably 4 years. Because we're gonna eat into our fund and we have enough for maybe 4 years. Again, I don't know what's gonna happen. We could crash an ambulance and have to go rent one for 6 months. I don't know. 4 years is the number I've been using all along. I don't remember 2 years, but maybe I said it. If I said it, I apologize. I was wrong. But we can probably go 4 or 5 years the way we are now, if we have to go hire all these people, which is what we have to do. We're burning out the volunteers and they just can't do it anymore. So, but I try to tell the truth when I come in here. I don't lie. I don't try to point out the worst scenario and say that's what's going to happen. I would never say that. We can go 4 to 5 years without any help. But after that, once we run out, then we've got to look for other options. And at that point, then we could go to Middlesex and say, okay, well, you have to go to Middlesex. We'll give up our PSA, we'll give up our trucks, and Middlesex can take over if they're interested in 5 years. But, right now, we think we can do it. And we can do it for 4 to 5 years until, see what happens.
How long would it take? And I guess it's for also the town manager too, to get a plan from, I guess, our side to see, I guess, the numbers we need to, you were talking about more volunteers and this and that. To get an actual written plan of like, you guys need this many more comfortable members to be where you want to be, the money, everything like that. And how long would it take on our side if we were going to start looking for more of a layout to start comparing
So that we
more
could- we
in
could
depth?
Come up with that, yeah. But I think-
Because that's the next step, right? And that,
Right.
like you were saying, so just to say, like, if we had 6, 10, 12 more members,
here's the
the
time
incentive
to-
by this much, whatever it is, right? I mean, how long would it take on both ends to start actually sitting down and looking at numbers and comparing?
I think at least a couple weeks for us to properly put
Yeah,
together a proposal.
we pretty much have the numbers and we
Have
can put it together.
Mr.
But I
Cox?
think, I'd like to see you give us a chance before jumping into Middlesex. I'd like to see you giving us a chance now that we've talked about it and identified the fact that, well, maybe we can do this if we have a plan. And if we have 3 or 4 years to kind of break even, that gives us a chance to increase our numbers, our staff, and
I think that's what
try
he's
to break
asking
even
for.
go on for
I hope
20
it's
years.
best for the town, because I like to continue our tradition. Can, I mean, you can start
we
there.
did,
Right, and I
But
think that in
We
order
have to
to
look at all the
give
options.
really quality care to our townspeople, to our patients, we need to continue the way we are. I don't think you're gonna get the kind of dedication and care and response that from an outside hospital agency professional service that you get from the people here in town.
And you're probably right, but with something this serious, it's worth
The
looking at,
equipment we provide is.
right?
Yeah.
I
and
mean, it
as far
just,
as skill,
take pride away. This is important.
yeah. And
Everything needs to be looked at.
Our need is numbers of people to cover 24/7 adequately, not just with one person there that's hoping somebody else is gonna come.
I think what I'm hearing is they appreciate
That's
that, but as a town, they need to respond to the negative
Right.
feelings of the community that's been
Right.
expressed to them. And so that means we have a further discussion and show our numbers
Yeah.
and come up with that proposal to really review.
As far as the water
So
over the
the
bridge,
plea
as
is
far as the newspaper
not
and all
necessary.
this other stuff, we need to put that aside because now there's a new approach. And it's a genuine approach. We're not gonna go out of business tomorrow. We're gonna, it'll happen. Yeah, there may be a little bit of delay in a call here and there, but there's also gonna be extra people on another call, and it's gonna happen. We don't lose a lot of people. We don't do a lot of, or have a lot of mutual aid that comes to us. We get it done. And it's because of dedication. I think, I'm just asking that, you know, I've been an EMT for 40 years, and I just think that you got to give us a chance. Because everybody's experiencing this.
Mr. Chairman, it's taken a long time to sit down with all of the parties sitting around the table. And I don't disagree that we need to continue these conversations. I appreciate the fact that we're here tonight. I think the Board of Directors of the Ambulance Association have heard very clearly the unhappiness that exists here, there, and everywhere. But it's, as someone said earlier, it's water over the dam. We really need to look to the ambulance board, and they need to do their homework. They need to look at their figures. They need to look at a plan and put together a plan and present that plan to us. Without that plan, we really are not in a position to do anything but look elsewhere. And that is not something that I would recommend, and I'm hopeful that is not something that will occur. Mr. Donnelly did bring up a couple interesting facts that were included in the contract that we received from Durham. And I think that contract needs to be reviewed very clearly. We need to understand what the costs really are for the community, or shall I say, what the costs are for the community and the Board of Directors of the Ambulance Association, because there is money involved. Having to give up the ambulances and the equipment is money. And you give it all up and you don't get it back. So it's an issue that has to be addressed. This is not a free service. I understand how that works, just having read the fine print of the contract. But I think we really need to look at the contract carefully, just as carefully as my friends across the table need to look at their figures, etc. The biggest challenge that my friends across the table have, though, really isn't the money aspect as much as it is coming up with people qualified to do the job. And if this fails, it might fail only because of that issue. The other thing that I'm going to throw out, which is not going to go over well, but I'm going to bring it out anyways, because I've said it publicly on a number of occasions, so I'm just going to repeat it. I really do not see the Ambulance Association, and I hope all my firemen are seatbelted in over there. I really don't see the Ambulance Association any different than the fire department. The Ambulance Association has volunteers. The fire department has volunteers. Unlike the fire department, the Ambulance Association does bring in money. Okay, maybe not as much as they would like. And Mr. Donnelly did bring up another very good point. This is really not an East Hampton issue. This is a state issue. We're probably not going to change Uncle Sam's dollar amount through Medicare. But the state of Connecticut does control the price of what we can charge. That is, the Ambulance Association can charge. And we are not the only ambulance association, and we're not the only town that's dealing with this challenge. I really think that our state representative and our state senator should be actively involved in these conversations. And I think they need to understand that it's not just East Hampton, but in the case of our state rep, it's East Haddam, East Hampton, and Salem. In the case of Norm Needleman, well, it's about a third of the state. I don't know all the towns that he works in. But the long and the short of it is, we really need to get those people to the table as well at some point to help understand the challenge that we have. Nothing would delight me more than for the Ambulance Association to do their homework and come back. I'm going to pray that they can find volunteers, because that's really the heart of their operation. And I'm hopeful that Mr. Cox will be able to look at that contract and lay out what the expectations are. Because you see, let me go back to the ambulance and the fire department. We maintain the fire department's facilities. We provide the fire department's equipment. If we were to provide the equipment through capital for the Ambulance Association, I have a sneaking suspicion the funding that they bring in is going to make this problem go away. And what's nice about that idea is that we have people that we know and trust that are overseeing the department, the ambulance association. We don't have control when you hire someone to do the job. So I would like to have the ambulance folks do their homework. I'd like Mr. Cox to be able to look at that contract. And I'd like our attorney to look at that contract as well. And number three, I really would like to continue this conversation about how the ambulance department and the ambulance association fits in with the community. Is it really like the fire department, as yours truly says? Maybe not. I'm not the brightest bulb on the tree, but I think we need to look at it to better understand what are the real costs and what can we do to provide the very best service, because that's what we're all about. There's no one sitting around this table and there's no one in that audience that doesn't want to give the best for our residents. Keep in mind, they might be coming to my house or your house, and I want the best, okay? That's my comment.
Keep in mind too that that facility up there was, well, there was a $700,000 bond issue for that. And that was, the town, but that came from taxes and whatnot. That wasn't really out of the town coffers. But the rest of it, which was probably almost another 7, was all raised by the ambulance corps and a fund drive, the town people. And they maintain that building really now. They buy all the equipment and everything else. So it's the kind of an organization that people get behind and they're willing to help with. So if we can transfer that over to getting some volunteers, it's going to help our situation, because it's not a money problem. It's a personnel problem.
All right, I would like to give you the tale of 2 chiefs. We have Chief Boker sitting over there with men's follow them. We hear no grief, no complaints. They work hard for them. I go by the fire department. There's 20 guys out there all the time cleaning, polishing trucks. You have a problem with your chief. You need to repair that.
Willing to look over management, administration, the whole bit. That's all part of the plan.
Very good. Well, I thank you all for coming out tonight.
Thank you.
I know it hasn't been an easy meeting. We also have some homework to do. Possibly another month, but everyone like to get together again, and see what we got laid out and see where we're going.
Maybe there's another 5th Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in the month. Huh?
We'll find one. Okay, with that, can I have a motion to adjourn? Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.